Good evening, everybody. Welcome to New York State PTA's Leadership Development Webinar Series. Today, I will introduce Jackie Wilson, who's our Leadership Development Specialist, and she will introduce our presenter. Thank you again for joining us and taking the time this evening to be with us. Jackie?
Thank you, Rob. Tonight, we have a very special webinar regarding tech toolkits being presented by our Genesee Valley Region Director, Sonia Barillo. A little bit about Sonia's PTA journey. Her journey began about 10 years ago when she was asked to be the president at her elementary school. Since then, she has been actively participating in and attending conventions and trainings provided by region, national, and state PTAs. She has served as president for both elementary and middle school units and held various positions on the Genesee Valley Region Board, currently as the region director. She loves technology and loves showing people how to actively engage and communicate with PTA members using a wide variety of methods, as you will see in the program tonight. A reminder to please put any questions that you have in the chat box. And thank you, Sonia, for this evening, and I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, hi, welcome everybody to the Tech Toolkit Workshop, free and low-cost tools to provide organizational efficiency. I'm happy to be presenting to you tonight. I originally got some of the slide materials from Naomi Frierson, who presented a similar workshop at the 2019 National PTA Convention, but I have subsequently presented a version of this workshop at past summer leadership conferences and conventions. I've updated this workshop for this 2022 leadership webinar with some tools on recommendations on online accounting platforms, Doodle, and also a hybrid Zoom setup. So I hope that this presentation is useful to you. Okay, so some items that we will include cover TechSoup, Google Suite for nonprofits, online accounting platforms and sign-up tools, Slack, Airtable, Zoom conferencing, Eventbrite, social media tools, online fundraising tools, and some personal organization things that have helped me over my time in dealing with PTA. Don't worry about taking a bunch of notes. The PDF of my slides will be available after the presentation, and I have embedded some specific links in my slides so that it'll take you right to the sites that I mentioned. So TechSoup is a site that verifies nonprofit organizations and partners with various tech companies to provide those tools to verified 501c3 organizations at a lower cost. PTA organizations should register using their formal name, which is PTA New York Congress, followed by your state ID and your unit or council name. You'll also need your federal tax ID number in order to register. Once approved by TechSoup, then organizations can choose which programs they would like to apply for. It's important to note that all services and products obtained through TechSoup are solely the property of the PTA organization and do not belong to an individual officer or person. Examples of services that you can obtain from TechSoup include Google for Nonprofits, which is free, Intuit QuickBooks, both the online and desktop versions are available for an administrative charge. And there are lots of other products and services that are available, so I would encourage you to check them out. Google for Nonprofits offers eligible organizations access to Google products and tools that can help you find new donors and volunteers, work more efficiently, and get supporters to take action. Organizations have access to a 30 gigabyte of storage space per user across Gmail and Google Drive, as well as a shared drive of 30 gigabytes and access to Google Meet, which provides a video meeting platform for up to 100 participants. The process for how to create a Google for Nonprofits account is shown here. It is a multi-step process that does require time, usually 2 to 3 business days between a couple of steps. Prior to requesting a Google for Nonprofits account, you must be registered and verified through TechSoup. It's important to note that this program does require a custom domain. If your organization doesn't already have a custom domain, you can purchase one through Google as part of the setup process. Most domains are $20 or less per year, and it is a valid PTA expense. And for nonprofits, I would encourage units to choose a custom domain that ends in .org. Google for Nonprofits includes a full suite of products included in these, what's shown here, plus YouTube, ad tools, etc. Google Gmail is perhaps the best known tool within Google. If your organization doesn't have the resources to purchase a domain and set up a nonprofits account, you could still create a central Google account for free. Just choose an email address ending in @gmail.com that is easily identifiable with your organization, and then give that email address and password to the next officer in the future. This is a great way to start if your PTA board doesn't have the tech know-how to do the Google for Nonprofits. If you are planning to use Google for Nonprofits, then one of the first decisions you'll have to make is how to set up the users on the account. Will you have them set up by person, like their name, or by position? There are definitely pros and cons to both. If you decide to set up the accounts by person, then the individual could keep their same account, even if they were elected to a different position in the future. You could then utilize what's called an alias address, such as treasurer@domain.org, which would be an additional address that could be accessed by the individual. Google for Nonprofits also allows you to set up group email addresses that are automatically distributed to multiple people in your organization. Google Mail has options to sort incoming messages and even assign labels to messages so you can categorize and file them for later. Google Drive is what I like to think of as my digital PTA binder. It allows digital files to carry over easily from year to year, create folders for each year, committee, event, or other need. Each successor has their work cut down exponentially by having quick and easy access to the previous year's files. Current leaders can provide total account access to all board members, link-based access, or share files and folders on an individual basis. Google for Nonprofits, as I mentioned before, does include a share drive that is automatically shared with all users in your domain. Google Drive does have a drive for desktop that you can download, which allows you to access the contents of your Google Drive and shared drive just like you would any other folder on your computer. And you can also access Google Drive on your mobile device, allowing your team to have access to files anytime and anywhere. Here's an example of how a Google Drive could be organized into folders and how you could share it. Google Calendar is a great tool to communicate about your organization's events and meetings. Calendars can be shared publicly and added to anyone's personal Google Calendar. Changes you make on a shared or subscribable calendar are updated and pushed out live. And you can also embed a public calendar to your website or link to your social media accounts. Here's an example of an organization's Google Calendar. And notice that the plus sign at the bottom right where someone would click on to subscribe. Google Translation is a basic translation service that can help your organization if you don't have a live resource in your school or community, and you can add translation capability to your custom website. You could also use Google Translate to help with other projects as well. It's worth noting that Google Translate is an artificial intelligence service, so it provides strict translation services only. If you need more than very basic translation services, then you would be better off working with an individual, hopefully a district employee or community member who could provide the proper context and real life translation needed to be truly effective in communicating with families in non-English languages. Next, I'll be talking about Docs, Sheets, and Slides. So Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides are similar to Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. The main advantage is that these are online programs that make collaboration easy because all the changes and revisions are made in real time and are viewable by multiple people at once. No more searching to make sure everyone is on the same version. Google files can be converted from and downloaded to Microsoft tools if needed. And when sharing files, you can also designate if people have the ability to edit the file directly, provide comments, or view only. Google Forms are a great tool for PTA organizations to utilize. You can create surveys, event registrations, voting ballots, etc. And I even saw online where during the pandemic, public libraries and other organizations used Google Forms to create digital escape rooms that people could do during the pandemic lockdowns over the past couple of years. Some of them are really fun. Once forms are created, they can be easily distributed via email or a link to those who need to complete them. Form answers are collected and summarized in charts and can be downloaded to a spreadsheet for further analysis. Okay, this is one of the brand new slides that I just created for this presentation. Keeping track of money is one of the most basic and important functions of a unit. Using a platform such as those listed here make creating reports easy and provide a level of transparency and accountability when combined with multi-user access, so that all officers can access reports when needed. I have personally used my PTEZ and QuickBooks with PTA units that I have been treasurer for, but I know of several units that use MoneyBinder with great success as well. While none of these platforms are free, they are a valid expense for units and should be strongly considered. My PTEZ and MoneyMinder are exclusively online platforms, making them simple to transition from officer to officer. QuickBooks can be either a downloadable program or an online platform, and I recommend doing the online platform just because it makes it easy to transfer from treasurer to treasurer. Online sign-up platforms like Sign-Up Genius and signup.com allow groups to create a web-based sign-up that can be easily shared with your parents and school community. Gone are the clipboards and sign-up sheets that get lost. Online sign-ups can accommodate both the need for items and the need for volunteers. And the best part is that they offer email reminders a day or two prior to the event, so everyone that signed up. Both platforms are easy to copy past sign-ups to use again for future events and programs. Unless your unit decides to purchase an upgraded account, I would recommend having the account be assigned to a standard email address that won't change from year to year. That way it's easier to keep everything in a central location and easily copy signups for the future. Here's an example of a sign up on signup.com that was created for item donations for a year-end award night reception. And notice that there are slots for both actual food items and volunteers to help with the event. So Doodle is another brand new slide just for this presentation that I've been using a lot. There's a couple of ways that you can use Doodle. So one of the most popular ways is to use it for a group poll. If you're trying to gather a group of people to meet for a certain event, like I'll just share a recent example was I was a team leader to meet with legislatures as part of our legislative summit. So I'm getting people together to do pre-training before we talk to our state legislatures. So I was able to create a Doodle poll with the times that I was available and tell everybody vote on the options that you're available. And then I picked the option that the most people could meet at. So no more reply emails. Once everyone participated, the owner can select the final date and time and finalize the poll. Doodle also has an option that you can create a booking page, which if you need to schedule meetings with one other person, you basically link it to your Google Calendar or your Microsoft Outlook calendar, and then you say what times you're available, like all day, and it counteracts with your calendar any conflicts. And so people could just automatically go to the booking page and they say, okay, I'll book a meeting with you at Tuesday at 9 o'clock, or I'll book a meeting with you on Thursday at 3. And it will automatically, you'll get notified that they've booked an appointment and it shows up on your calendar. Doodle has both free and pro versions available. So again, it's a tool that I recommend, particularly PTA officers check out as part of their work. Slack is a platform that's great for defined groups that need to stay connected, such as PTA boards. It's a collaborative communication platform that replaces text, email, social media messages, etc. And it works best when the group decides together to communicate solely through Slack, leaving those other options behind. Slack uses channels or topics to organize conversations, and channels can be private or public, open to everyone on the site, or private where it's just limited to locked to certain people. And the free plan allows you to search the most recent 10,000 messages. You can also attach files, pictures, use emojis, and more within the platform. Slack has a desktop version, web browser version, and mobile device options, so you can always stay up to date. Here's an example of a Slack site that I use with my Genesee Valley Region Board members, and you can see how I use it for Region Board messages and sending of files. Airtable is a cloud-based platform that is like a spreadsheet on steroids. You can add pictures, files, and other data to records. The free plan allows for up to 1,200 records per sheet or base. An example of a use of this Airtable platform might be to keep track of reflections entries where you want to attach the artwork. So Zoom conferencing. When I had originally given this workshop prior to March 2020, not many people had heard of Zoom. It certainly has changed now because we're using it for this presentation. So Zoom conferencing is one of the most widely used tools during the closures and restrictions on public meetings. Zoom does have a free plan, but I do recommend that units include a Zoom Pro plan into their budget. The Pro plan is much more stable, allowing you to host meetings of any duration. And you can also record meetings and save them either to your account in the cloud, as long as they are less than 1 gigabyte, or you can save them to your computer. These are some important account settings that I recommend that PTA units choose when setting up their Pro account. The waiting room is an exclusive Zoom feature that allows the host to see who wants to come into your virtual meeting space prior to them entering. Co-hosts can be any other person in the meeting that the host designates, and they can share in some of the administrative tasks that hosts have, such as letting people in from a waiting room, muting, unmuting participants, sharing their screen if you have it set to host only, etc. Breakout rooms are another great feature that allow you to break up your own main meeting into smaller virtual spaces that are great for smaller conversations. Here are my suggestions for what to do when hosting virtual meetings. And many of these bullet points come as a result of one of my meetings getting disrupted by someone who was not supposed to be there. We discovered that they had found the meeting registration link on our PTA unit social media page and had entered in fictitious data in the registration fields. In Zoom registration, when auto approval is turned on, then they automatically get the link to the meeting, no matter what they type in the registration fields. It's something to consider and when you look at how you're going to create a safe meeting space. So what you can do in the settings, if you have registration set up, is you can turn the auto approval off, so that what happens is then you would have to go into the online Zoom account and you would have to manually approve people. And when you manually approve them, it's only then that they get the meeting link emailed to the email address that they put on the registration form. Here are some screenshots of what you have available when you use the registration feature. You do have the ability to add custom questions to the Zoom registration form. The only downside is that these reports can only be pulled from the host Zoom account on a web browser. So keep that in mind, particularly if you have multiple people organizing the meeting. Of course, an alternate method would be to use another type of online registration form to collect information and then send the Zoom link to those people that register on time. Okay, so here's another brand new slide for this presentation. This is an option that I've been using to do a hybrid meeting setup for my region board meetings. And I have used a Facebook Portal TV device, which you can get. It's listed at $149. Sometimes you can get them for cheaper. I think around Christmas time, you could get them for maybe around $100. And what's great about the Facebook Portal TV device is that you don't need a separate computer to use it. So there's a Zoom app that you just need to download from the Facebook Portal store. And you connect it right to it has an HDMI connection that you connect right to a projector or smartboard or TV that you have access to in your meeting space. And then you connect it to Wi-Fi. Use the Portal camera and mic to see and hear the meeting room. So the Portal camera is a very wide lens camera, and it will actually zoom in on the person that's talking. And it has like, I think it has like 6 or 8 mics. So it picks up it's made for like a broad space. So that's good. And you can use the gallery view shown on the projector smartboard for meeting participants that are in person to view. So they could view the share screen things on the screen, and they could also see a gallery view of people that are attending remotely. The other thing that you would need would be obviously like a computer or laptop for the host or moderator to have, so that they would be able to control the meeting from the computer. If you're doing the Facebook Portal for this hybrid meeting, because the Facebook Portal TV device is going to be collecting the mic and the sound from the room, you would not connect the audio from the computer because that would cause an echo, but you would connect the video, but you would just leave the audio off. You would use the laptop to share any screen materials, and you can monitor chat and feedback from the laptop. I do have the little asterisk because I did notice that when I tried to share a video, it was better to share it from the Facebook portal device, which actually uses, I think you have to actually use like a mobile device to do it. You can't share directly from the Facebook portal. It tells you to like pull up a web browser and share from link to a mobile device. But that's only if you're sharing like video that has sound. If you're just doing like PowerPoint slides, then you would share the PowerPoint slides on the computer indicated in the slide. I hope that makes sense to people. Okay, so Eventbrite is another great platform that I have used with several PTA units. I initially used it to organize after school clubs for an elementary unit, and we create different tickets for each club and set the capacity limit for each. We set the registration to go live at a specific date and time, and parents were able to go in and see registration limits and what clubs were full on a live basis. Eventbrite does have a fee structure, but if your event is free, there's no fee to use the platform. You can collect registration information on a per person basis and have custom questions on the registration form. We also used Eventbrite for families to reserve tickets for a science fair event. They brought in their tickets on either paper or a mobile device, and we had ticket takers just scan the QR code on the ticket to let them in. Eventbrite also works extremely well for virtual events. You can link your event to your Zoom, Google Meet, or other video meeting platform, and Eventbrite will provide you with an online event page where you can share files and other information that people need for the event. I highly recommend that you check out Eventbrite. Social media is another communication platform that PTA units should be familiar with, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, or TikTok. The first question to ask is, what platforms are being used by parents and by students that I want to communicate with? Buffer is a social media marketing platform that I have found to be extremely helpful. I use Facebook mostly for my personal use, but I know that a lot of the parents and students that my units want to communicate with are on Twitter and or Instagram. Buffer allows me to cross-post on multiple accounts and even schedule these posts in advance. The basic free plan on Buffer allows users to link up to 3 social media accounts and schedule up to 10 posts. This is a screenshot of what the scheduling queue looks like in Buffer. So as you can see, there are day and time slots that you can customize. Buffer's been a really great tool to allow me to post easily to multiple social media accounts. And you can see on the screen that Buffer does have analytics and engagement sections, but those are an upgrade from the basic free plan. Canva is a graphic designer platform that allows you to create all sorts of content. This cloud-based platform can be used on a web browser or mobile device to create social media posts, flyers, newsletters, etc. They do have a nonprofit program that gives you a free pro account. Just search for Canva in the for nonprofits for more information, or you can see there's a hyperlink on my slide. Canva has thousands of templates and elements. You definitely get more from having a pro account, as well as letting you upload your own images. Pro account users can also set up their preferred brand content with specific colors, logos, etc. And I know that our own New York State PTA membership team uses Canva quite regularly and even has Canva creations that you can copy or use as a template and customize with your unit information. Just be sure to make a copy of the shared content before you customize it. And quick question, you can use some Zoom reactions. How many people would be interested in a standalone webinar on creating with Canva? I see some hands raised. I see at least 5 hands raised. So that's something that we'll have to consider in the future. Here are some examples of content that I have created in Canva. Whether you're using them in social media posts or other creative content, the role of pictures and visuals has never been more important. We do have to be careful, though, to make sure that we are not using copyrighted images. These are some examples of sites and companies that provide royalty-free images, meaning they don't usually cost any money to use. Some of them do have requirements that you include the site name and sometimes the original creator as an attribution. So again, when you get these slides, you'll see that these each one of these logos is a link to their site. Next, we're going to talk briefly about fundraising. So 32 Auctions is an online site that I've used to do silent auctions. And you can, it's a pretty easy platform to use, and it was very effective when I was doing it with my elementary unit. So you can add up to a certain number of items. And shows an example. For free, you could do up to 20 items with one image per item. And then you could do online things. If you spent $30 for the event, you could upgrade to do up to 100 items. And then they have other options that the price would increase depending on what options you chose to do. Here's some other information on 32 Auctions. So 32 Auctions does allow you to accept credit cards, debit cards, e-checks, PayPal payments by linking your Stripe and or PayPal account to your auction. And then you could have 32 Auctions automatically take care of the transaction. So if when somebody wins the item, then it would automatically send them the information on how to pay for it. Flexible payment options allow for offline payments when it's more convenient, and it sends payment reminders to those who need a little nudge to settle up. They do have a separate transaction fee if you have 32 Auctions do the payment collecting for you, and it's in addition to the Stripe and or PayPal transaction fee for payments processed online. There's no transaction fee are charged for self-managed payments. I think it's worth it. We did one silent auction for an elementary unit that did where I tried to do everything manually, and it was a big pain. So all of the silent auction items that we had gotten donated, so it was all profit for us, whatever the money was on the item. And we clearly decided after 1 year of me doing the self-managed payments where I was asking everybody for payment, it was worth the double processing fee, right? You have the processing fee for Stripe or PayPal, and then we had the 32 Auction payment processing, but it was a lot easier just to have the site automatically notify people that they had won, allow them to pay like from that email. And it just made things a lot easier rather than having me as the treasurer have to chase everyone around for payment. Amazon Smile is another very popular program that a lot of units engage in for fundraising. So Amazon Smile is available on your web browser, and you can also be activated in the shopping app for your mobile device. And Amazon Smile donates 0.5% of your eligible purchases to the charitable organization of your choice. Registering your organization is easy. You can search for your charitable organization by name or EIN number, and then select the organization that you represent. And you have to confirm that you want to make sure when you're selecting the organization that you select the right one, because almost all units in our state start with the PTA New York Congress. So you need to triple check, make sure that you're selecting the right one. With Amazon Smile, you do need to verify your email address, which is a couple-step process. And you do have to submit your organization's bank account information because they do direct deposit the deposits. They deposit them on a quarterly basis. So and you do have to upload a copy of a voided check or bank statement to verify your organization's bank account. The minimum amount that a charitable organization must accrue to receive a quarterly donation is $5. If the total donation amount due to your organization is less than $5, then what they do is they hold it until it does get to be to $5. And as part of Amazon Smile, you also have access to Amazon Smile charity lists, which is the ability to request products and have them direct shipped to the organization by default, which is very helpful if you're trying to, get donations of items. Shop with Script is a gift card program that allows nonprofits to do gift card fundraising and to be able to purchase gift cards for less than the face value. They offer a wide variety of gift cards, including Visa gift cards that do not have a processing fee. My middle school unit uses Shop with Script to purchase gift cards that were used as part of a student incentive for our fundraising program. And we also promoted the program to our school families, and some used it to purchase gift cards for the holiday season. The families paid the face value of the gift cards, but the unit was charged the discounted rate and kept the difference. There is a flat shipping rate for each order of cards. And if you're interested in finding out more information, you can check it out at shop.shopwithscript.com. So these are some personal organization tips that you would use as an individual that have been helpful for me, not just in my work with dealing with PTAs. So Shift is a desktop app for streamlining your accounts, apps, and workflows. It allows you to access multiple Google and Microsoft accounts, and you can also zero in with focused web tabs. You can access Shift from the web, from inside Shift, manage your tabs and organize them by account for a better browsing experience. Collect all of your apps and extensions. So you could connect it to Slack, you could connect it to Instagram, Facebook, you can connect it to Canva, you can connect it to any program, almost any program that you're using. And you could search across all of your accounts in one spot. So Shift has a basic free service. As an advanced service is $100 per year. So this is just my opinion, but believe me, as someone who is involved in multiple PT organizations, couple of units, region, state level, I have like 6 different Google accounts, and the $100 a year cost for me has been worth it. Because if you're like me and you've got multiple accounts, I was first doing it all through like a Chrome browser, and you could only pull up one account at a time, right? And it's a pain to have to switch from back and forth in between Google accounts. So for me, Shift has been a game changer because I have everything, and all I have to do is just click on my little icon on the side, and I can click through and see all my different accounts in a matter of seconds. So for me, $100 a year is worth it. I think you can also, they also have a referral program. So if people, they give you a referral code, and if other people then start to subscribe to Shift using your code, then you get like a little bit of a break in your annual cost. So that's a way to do it if you want to. Edison Mail is what I use on my mobile devices to manage my email accounts. It's a free app and definitely has some advantages over the built-in mail apps. So Edison Mail allows you to, again, keep track of multiple email accounts like you can with those built-in apps on your mobile device. But what I also like about Edison is that you can customize signatures per account, and you could include pictures in the account. So like my signature for my Genesee Valley Region PTA includes the New York State PTA like presidential logo. And I can include that when I send messages from my mobile device. So, and you can also pull previous signatures as recommendations. You can read an email from one account and reply from a different account. So if somebody sends me an email from like they're a unit person asking, and somehow it ends up in my personal email account, I can reply back and change that I'm sending it from my from my Genesee Valley Region account. You're able to block read receipts, and you can also undo send. It has a timer where you say, how long of a window do you want to be able to hit cancel send? So I've had to use that feature sometimes. So Edison Mail is available on Google Play App Store and also the Mac App Store. And that is the end of my presentation. So I know that was a ton of information. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Sonia. So we've been monitoring the questions. Please put any questions in the chat. I think they've been answered so far, but let me see, we have 2 more. Can you clarify, there was a question about what to add in the budget and what not to, and does it have to be voted on, I guess?
So yeah, so any tech tools that you have would need to be voted on with the budget. So like I talked about like the Zoom Pro, I talked about like an administrative fee for, or like an online accounting platform, the fees for that. That should all be definitely needs to be approved by, it should be put in as part of your budget and approved. And, I know that units have a hard time wanting to spend or budgeting money for things for tech tools. They think it should all be spent on the kids, which it's, I mean, that's the vast majority of your budget, right? Should be spent on programs and doing the advocacy work that we need to do. But keeping track of the money is also very important. And if you're bringing in, $20,000, $10,000 a year, it's worth spending a couple $100 to make sure that you have an accounting platform that is going to give you the reporting in detail that is going to allow you to make informed and better decisions. So it's, units shouldn't, boards and officers should not be afraid to spend the money and invest in tools that are going to be able to allow you to do the work, better and more effectively. So
that was a good tip about Google. And then we have some people that are technical. So we did create our own domain and then created the account and didn't make that decision between, generic accounts or user accounts.
yeah.
So if I'm a PTA and I'm just starting in, what would be the best choice? I don't use any of the technical tools. What should be my next step? Because you talked about fundraising tools, organization tools, email tools. So what will be like a first step for a PTA that has not embraced technology yet and maybe should be considering some of these tools?
Okay. So the first thing depending on your budget, like how much, what your gross receipts are, I think the accounting platform is like pretty important. So that would be like the first, because you got to make sure you know where your money is going and having those reports and the detail, I think, is super important. And then from there, using like Google Drive, to put your files in and things like that, like transferring from that paper base to making it so it's something that's easy to transfer from officer to officer and to be able to add to. So, utilizing like Google Drive, I think, would be the next step.
Thanks. That's an excellent trip, because one of the most challenging parts in transitioning PTA offices, right, is all the history that goes with it.
Yeah.
A lot of the paper trails, and we used to get, buckets and bins of from president to president. So Google Drive is a good way to kind of organize and transition, and they just pass on and keep the history of accounts. Would it be safe to keep financial documents, I guess, in Google Drive as well, in the retention period? So how would that interfere with, and we have Jackie anyway, that's, previously with bylaw. So just putting it out there, is that a safe location to put historic documents that we need to keep as PTAs for several years?
Well, if you put them in as PDFs, they can't be altered, but absolutely bylaws is something that can be passed on. And I was just thinking, as you mentioned, Rob, that procedures, okay, if you have the Google Drives and then there's never any question about the procedures of what event you did, what an officer did, what a chairman did, and that's always available then to everyone. But making sure that it's obviously kept within the PTA is important as well, and who has access to it, as Sonia talked about before.
Yeah, I know that there was something somebody just posted in the chat. And some people, I am a super user of Member Hub. So Member Hub is a whole other tool that I didn't even talk about in this workshop. But Member Hub has other tools that you could use, right? They have fundraising platforms. They have a file section in the compliance section that you could put files in, and you could upload your 990s, you could upload your bylaws, that then future officers would have access to. So that also is a whole other place where units can, put valuable, information that they want to keep. So.
And you do see that we have that Sonia has her email on here. So if, as you start using some of these platforms, you have any specific questions, she's more than happy to have you direct them to her. As you can see, she's quite knowledgeable, and we appreciate her expertise.
Okay, so I think if we don't have any more questions, it might be an early night. So the information is very valuable. The recording will be available. Slides will also be posted on the Leadership Development website on the webinars and tools. And so this will be available as well.
Yeah. Karen, I see you I saw your thing in the chat. I did do a whole convention workshop on Member Hub newsletters and communications that is available on the New York State website under the past training materials. So you can take a look at that there.
Right, and all of our webinars are on the website under the webinar series, so feel free to take a look at anyone's for topics that you might be interested in. And always, please email any of us to with any suggestions, as we see here with the Member Hub, that you might have for important topics that you want to see presented.
Sonia, thank you very much.
Thank you,
If
Sonia.
there are no other questions, again, you can always email us if you have any additional questions. Sonia is a great technical resource and the presentation was great. So we really appreciate you taking the time and all the members that joined today. Thank you again for taking the time this evening to join us for the LD webinar series. Have a great
Thank
evening.
you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.